And what better way for revenge to be had than between the two that are most affected? Hello, sister. We have him now. His dark eyes flitted beyond Brandon, and was pinned on something behind the man. With much reluctance, he tore his eyes away from the kid and went to look at who had appeared in association with the boy. But what he had saw was not what he had expected. He expected something like a witch or another spectral-looking ghost wanting to kill him. But all he saw was a dark curly-furred cat bounding up onto the bridge from the brightly lit city. It was Farah, dark gray ribbon in all of her unique self. But he wasn't happy to see her this time. With all that was going on, and the fact that she was the one who appeared in the place of this sister, especially, he was not too keen on trusting anymore. Farah skidded to a halt a little way from him, first standing on end and eyes flashing bright amber in the light. She looked from him to the kid and back to him again, but made no other moves to advance. But that didn't stop the fear from building up within him at the realization he was trapped. Well, sister, will you make the first move, or shall I? Brandon whipped his head around to the kid, who had a chilling, gleeful smile on his face, but then back at Farah, who had taken one paw step forward, still bristling. Stay back! He stumbled back into the railing, struggling to keep eyes on the two ominously enigmatic beings around him. Upon his abrupt outburst, Farah flinched back and lowered herself to the ground, but her body language portrayed not aggression, but submissive posturing. She didn't get up again, or even creep forward again. She just continued to stare wide-eyed and scared, and he felt she wouldn't be approaching anytime soon. But just as he was going to turn his attention to the kid, he was startled when a sudden gruesome image flashed inside his mind, which was then followed by even more images of his death. Whether by the hands of the white-haired kid or other gruesome and horrible ways, it was becoming too much for him, and he pulled at his hair to desperately stop the onslaught of traumatizing images. But as it continued, his head felt as though it was splitting open by how agonizing it was. My, showing him the many ways he could die? Quite a bold play, sister. Brandon looked back at Farah, one eye clenched shut to at least ease the agony of his head exploding. She still stayed put where she was, still bristling and wide-eyed, her posture and behavior looking like she was ready to book it to the safest place she could. But knowing she wasn't as uninvolved as a normal animal would be, she was somehow responsible for whatever was going on with his mind. Stop it now! His blood-curdling yell tore through his throat and rang in the air loudly, the sound of it enough to shake even the most steel-nerved man to his core, to which affected Farah the most when he wasn't looking. And it did happen to stop, the only lingering thing being the haze and feathery feeling in his head. He was too out of it to even hear what the kid said, or if it was even directed toward him at all. But that didn't matter, because when Brandon saw the kid advance towards him, he scrambled away and ended up with his back to the railing above the torrential, restless, dark water. Your luck has run out, venison, and it was a really foolish thing that you didn't expect or even prepare for our arrival. The kid continued on, circling Brandon slowly, even phasing through the railing and into the street again. What the hell are you? He exclaimed loudly, already brimming with terror at the obviously inhuman being threatening his life. He had no idea what this thing was talking about, or who this venison was that he was mistaking him for, but it didn't matter since he was in a very bad situation. I am your certified end road. His threatening voice was lowered in a certain volume, and as he spoke, two bright blinding headlights appeared behind him as a sleek white car drove up from down the street on the left side of the road and veered around with screeching wheels straight towards him and the kid. All time slowed down instantly, and one single second felt like several years as he watched his death racing right towards him. The kid, who was standing right in front of him and the car charging forward, ended up phasing through the car, and all Brandon really saw was the car coming straight towards him.